episode 15, Traveling with Littles. My name is Janelle, and I'm your in the park expert, and I am with my co host.
Hello, I am Mike. I am a travel advisor that specializes in Disney, and so all things outside of the park are my cup of tea, while Janelle handles everything inside the park. And I will play the role of the little in today's episode. Janelle was not that.
I was not prepared for that. And okay, I feel like if the shoe fits.
Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
All right. Well, so I know for me, it's been a long time since I've brought a little to the park, and maybe for you too. But we're going to try to give our expertise on, I know what I see in the park, and Mike helping people as a travel agent, prepare. So I think we can bring that to the table. And I think we both have experience with bringing littles at one point.
Absolutely. And, I think those experiences that we had, whether they were 20 years ago or 15 years ago, those battle scars last a long
They
time.
do. They absolutely do. They do.
So we titled this "Littles," and there might be some segments where we reference a newborn or reference an 18-month-old or a 4-year-old or what have you. And so we'll kind of sway back and forth. So I don't think we want to latch down to a certain age.
Right.
But what I like to actually kick this off with, Janelle, because I get asked this all the time, is what is the right age to bring a little
Okay.
to Disney?
Okay.
And the answer is
The answer is whatever age is you want to take them, in my opinion. I think whatever is best for your family, whatever you are comfortable with, whatever memories you want to have, whatever memories you want them to have, and what you want your experience to be. It's completely up to you and your family and whoever's taking them.
Yeah, I think the important thing there is it's not a one size fits all answer.
No.
As a travel advisor, I tackle it from the financial side of it when I get asked that question. Do you think you'll be able to afford to go more than one time? If
Hmm.
the answer is yes, then that changes my answer to what I provide. If the answer is no, this is a once in a lifetime trip, we'll never be able to do it again, then my answer gets swayed in that direction.
Right.
But for me personally, if you think you can make multiple trips, even if it's only two, take them when they're little.
Right.
Um, the argument people make is, well, they're not going to remember.
Yep.
You're absolutely right. My youngest son, who's now 18, has been to Disney, I don't know, 8, 10, 12 times. He
Yep.
absolutely does not remember when he was 2 years old or 18 months old, his first trip
Right.
there. Doesn't remember it. But you'll never experience Disney through the eyes of a 2-year-old if you wait until they're 7.
Right.
So that's why I say if you can afford multiple trips, take them when they're little. Um, the interactions that they have with the characters, or seeing the parade, or the
Right.
fireworks, or whatever it may be,
Yeah.
seeing the castle. You, as a mom or dad, will never experience that if you wait till they're older. Now, again, if you can only afford to go one time, then I would say wait until they're older so that
Yeah.
they have those memories as well.
Right. Well, I think I say it often in my streams, and I try to when I'm asked this question. As far as my experience goes, we did take kids that weren't gonna, remember. We had older kids and my nephews and everything, and my mom would always make a photo book for each one of the grandkids, and so those photos is how they remember, and those photos are the memories that they have. Even if someone was 5, yep, they could remember, but maybe not remember the little specifics or remember meeting Daisy, all those things. So photo books, like that's just something that there's so many little things like that, souvenirs or special events that you can have that you wouldn't have if you didn't go. And but you can kind of preserve the memory and they can have for a lifetime from that. And I always go back to I love like a cast member or somebody who goes as like a a 2-year-old who wouldn't have the memory of their own, but then they go back as a 20-year-old and they have those 2 pictures, and you cannot have those 2 pictures if you didn't take them as a 2-year-old, you know? So, it is special, and it's something that you have to kinda look at, like, what can happen later on in life if they get to go on their own as an adult or take their own family or something like that.
Yep, that's great points. Very good points. That 2-year-old, 20-year-old picture is so cool.
Mhm.
And for me, like I said, we took our youngest when he was 18 months. This was well before COVID, and the idea of a pandemic was something we never understood or imagined. But he was at that age where he loved the characters. And by the end of, I think it was our Epcot day, he had, Snow White's lip prints
Mhm.
here, Jasmine's
Yeah,
here, and somebody else is here, and that would have never happened when he was 7, ever.
right,
And so I one of our park days, and it was probably Magic Kingdom, my wife and I spent the entire day in line to see characters with him. My
right.
parents took the 2 older boys off to ride rides, whatever, but that, for me, as a parent, it might have been my favorite park day ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did
So
nothing but stood in line, but it was so memorable.
and right there, I think you've made a good point with your own example. Like, this isn't all about the rides. And I know we get asked, well, what can my 2-year-old ride? Or what can a newborn ride? Or, what and and it's not necessarily all about the rides, but I think we'll probably talk about the rides and what they can do. But I love that. Like, you didn't go there with the intention of like we had to go do rides or, see all the shows, and it turned into something completely special that you probably didn't set that trip out for that to happen,
Right. Well,
you
look,
know?
nobody ever goes to Disney looking forward to standing in lines all day.
No,
Nobody
you're
does.
absolutely right. Right.
And that's what we did. But the interactions with each character that he got to see far outweighed however many hours collectively we stood in line.
Right.
Now, look, we had snacks with us. That always helped, right?
Yes.
But
Okay.
great times. So I'm going to dive into this with when is a great time to go? And I don't mean at what age specifically, but just when in general. Now, one of these answers that I provide is age related, and that the answer of when to go, price comes into play.
Okay.
If your child is under the age of 3 at the time you arrive, whether they're 2 months old, 18 months old, or 2 years old, they are free. One of the few times that you get to use that free word at Disney. So if you take them before they turn 3, you're not paying 200, 300, $400 for a park ticket for your little.
Right.
That's a huge advantage.
It is.
I said this, hopefully I said it right. If they are not 3 at the time that you check in, they are
Okay.
free for the entire length of your stay. So, if for argument's sake your child turned 3 on September 10th, if
Mhm.
you arrive on September 9th, your child is considered 2 for the length of
Length
your
of the
stay.
stay. Okay.
That's a huge factor to consider when you're trying to answer that question of when to go. The other part of when to go that I think is a factor to consider is, and this is not newsworthy breaking news type of thing, but it's hot in Florida for
Mhm.
a good part of the year. Understand if you are taking your child in the summer, which a lot of us need to do because of work, you're a school teacher, whatever the case may be.
Right.
You have older children who are going to have to get taken out of school, so summertime is the way to go. Just to understand that you need to plan accordingly for the heat. If you have the flexibility with littles, don't go May through September, because
Right.
that's the hottest part of the year.
Yeah.
Go it's a little bit more manageable, because littles will overheat quickly and your day will not be as enjoyable for all of you. The third part of when to go, look at promotions. Yes, your 2-year-old is free, but wouldn't it be nice to save money on your resort room because there's a promotion? Or wouldn't it be nice to save money on the park tickets for the rest of the family
Right.
because of the promotion? Every dollar you can save on one of those promotions, you're likely going to spend on souvenirs for your 2-year-old. or snacks for your 2 year old, or snacks for you for that matter. So, any way you can manage. And we can go into a whole thing about how to make a trip cost savings,
Right.
beneficial, bringing food and that sort of stuff, free ice water at the parks, those sort of things. But all of that goes into kind of that idea of when to go.
Okay.
Next thing you want to know is how long do you want to go?
Mm,
And that we said this at the very beginning, there's no answer that's one size fits all.
right.
All of these things, there's going to be no answer that's one size fits all. I could argue that taking a shorter trip is better with a little because you're not upsetting their normal routine for as long as a period of
Right.
time. If it's a 3-day weekend trip, by the time they start to realize, hey, you're messing up my schedule, you're probably on day 3. So you've kind of gotten yourself out of the woods. If you're there for an entire week and you're changing the routine, it's going to impact and snowball. But on the flip side of that, a longer trip allows you to go at a slower pace. You don't feel like I have to get everything done in Magic Kingdom
Right.
today because it's my only Magic Kingdom day. Or I have a rest day built in tomorrow. So if we go hard today, we can chill tomorrow. So again, no one size fits all on how long to go, but those are things to think about when you're planning a trip with a little.
Okay. I mean, I agree. You heard it here.
That is breaking. And part of the how long to go, you have to then factor how many days do I want to be in the parks?
Right.
And Janelle mentioned earlier about the rides and that we were probably going to get to that, and we will.
Mhm.
So part of the how many days in the park can be applied to how tall is your child, because there
Okay.
are restrictions
Yeah.
on some of the rides. And so I'm not going to go through all of the rides, but I do have
Okay.
some numbers that will help you. At the Magic Kingdom, if your child, now you're probably not talking about a 2 year old, but if your child is over 48 inches in height, there are a total of 24 rides that they could ride.
Oh, okay.
If your child is 40 inches,
Okay.
there's 22 rides that they can ride. If your child is 32 inches, there are 18 rides that they can ride. So you can
Okay.
see the number of attractions will lower based on their height. Still, 18 rides
I,
for a child who's under 32 inches is a lot that they can do.
that's what I was gonna say. 18.
Yes. Now, of course, and we know Magic Kingdom has the most rides of all
Right.
4 parks. But it's important to note that just because you're taking an 18-month-old doesn't mean that there aren't any rides for them to ride. A lot of the rides at the Magic Kingdom are family-friendly rides that you can do
Mhm.
regardless of height. They can sit in mom or dad's lap. If they're old enough, they can sit in a seat next to you as long as you kind of keep hands on them type of thing. So there's a lot you can still do.
Right.
Now it will dwindle as we get to the other parks. I'm going to use the same height numbers: 48 inches, 40 inches, 32 inches. At
Okay.
Epcot, if you're over 48 inches, there are 11 rides that you can do. At
Okay.
40 inches, there are 10 rides. And at 32 inches, there are 7 rides.
Okay.
So the shorter your child, still a lot that they can do, but not as much. And so that's how you can kind of craft how many park days do I need, which helps answer the how long of a trip do I need to take.
Okay.
Hollywood Studios, at 48 inches, there are 9 rides. At 40 inches, there are 8 rides. At 32 inches, there are only 3 rides.
Oh,
So
wow.
huge drop. Now, not to say that don't go to Hollywood Studios, because there's a lot of character interactions and things
Yep.
like that shows that your children will enjoy regardless of height. Animal Kingdom has the fewest rides, period. At 48 inches, there are 8 rides that you can do. At
Okay.
40 inches, there are 6 rides. And then at 32 inches, there are 4 rides. But
Okay.
again, great shows at Animal
Yep.
Kingdom, a lot of character interactions, a lot of cool things that your children can enjoy. But those are some factors that you want to take into consideration when you're looking at how long of a trip do I want to take and how many park days.
Right.
Jumping from the parks to if you plan to fly down with littles,
Okay.
most airlines for children under the age of 2, they can fly for free as what's called lap infants. You won't have a seat for them, but they will have to sit in mom or dad
Right.
or grandma's lap. Um, that can save you money. You want to check with your airline because each airline has different rules and regulations.
Okay.
If you choose to purchase a seat for your little, depending on how old they are and how small they are, you want to ensure that you have an FAA approved car seat for that child to sit in. I mean, if it's
Okay.
a 9 month old, you're not going to just sit them in the seat and buckle them up, right? You need to put them in
Yeah.
a car seat. And that car seat can be beneficial then if you plan to Uber from the airport um, and have
Right.
your own car seat. Strollers are another thing. Talking about flying, you can rent a stroller at Disney inside the parks, and if you do, that stroller stays inside the park. So that means you're carrying your littles outside the park at the resort, Disney Springs, whatever the case may be. You can rent strollers from external third party companies down there. And Janelle and I have actually done a podcast on that. So you can go back and listen to that one. It's a great option. For me personally, I like to bring our own stroller for two
Yeah.
main reasons. The first one is it's a lot of walking at the airport.
Mhm.
Renting a stroller once I get to Disney doesn't help me at the airport in my hometown, in the connecting airport, or when I first arrive at
Yeah.
Orlando at MCO. The second one, I think, is even more important, is the comfort and familiarity for your child.
Yeah.
They know their own stroller, they're comfortable in their own stroller, which means they might be more likely to take a nap in that stroller during a long park day. Whereas if they're in a foreign stroller, one that you rent, they may not be comfortable in it, and therefore they
Yeah.
may not sleep in it.
I agree.
Things
I
that can
agree.
thoughts, comments on any of this?
The Magic Kingdom strollers, I mean, that's that hard plastic, you know. Yeah. It's a different kind of stroller that they just wouldn't be used to.
and and I'll speak from experience because we've rented inside the parks before and we've brought our own. Um, I could almost guarantee you every time we rented inside the park and one of our kids is in that hard plastic stroller and they were tired and they were wanting to kind of nestle in to fall asleep,
Mhm.
we ended up having to go to a store and buy like a shirt so we'd have something soft in a bag for them to
Mm.
pillow.
Right.
So while we saved money on just renting a stroller and not buying one or whatever, we ended up buying merchandise so that they could nestle into something and be
Right.
comfortable in the stroller. So it backfired on us.
Right.
The advantages of renting inside the park, though, is at the end of the day, you're not hassled with getting a stroller through the crowds in the exit. You're just grabbing your child and going and
Right.
have you. But um, I'll tell you, for us too, again, we always brought our own strollers, especially if it's a new stroller you've purchased. Before you ever leave home, practice folding it and unfolding it multiple times
Right.
because when you get in line to get on the bus at your resort, you're going to have to fold up the stroller. And even though I knew exactly how to fold up our stroller, it was like Murphy's Law. I couldn't get that doggone thing to fold up to save my life right then and there. And it
Right.
felt like it took 10 minutes and there were 1,000 people behind me. It was probably 5 seconds and there were 10 people behind me, but still, it felt
Right. It's that feeling. Yeah.
absolutely. So yeah, think about the stroller aspect with your littles, and that can benefit you a long, long ways.
Okay.
Now, when we get to the resorts themselves, most of the Disney resorts have playgrounds, which is great. Sometimes littles, even though the park aspect can be exhausting, they still have that little kid energy in them.
Yeah.
Having them get on that playground and play allows them to be the kid that they are at home all the time,
Right.
and that can be helpful. All of the resorts have swimming pools, so plan accordingly with swimwear, um, towels, that sort of thing.
Right.
Sunscreen, because it is hot and the sun is hot. The pools are heated, so even if you go in January and you have a little one that likes to swim, the pool water is nice and warm. Now they don't heat the air outside the pool, so it's going to be chilly,
There you go.
but the water is heated and they can swim. Some people don't know this, but all of the resorts have limited availability of cribs or pack and plays or bed rails. So if you've got
Okay.
a 2-year old that has a small a toddler bed at home that they're safe in, and now you're putting them into the big bed at All Star Sports, you can uh, borrow or rent bed rails from the resorts.
Okay.
Limited supply, so don't expect them to always have them. When you book your trip, whether you're booking through a travel agent like myself or you're booking yourself, you can call and put in that request ahead of time for the pack and play or the crib or the bed rails.
Okay.
In my experience, most often than not, even though you've done that, when you check in and go into your room, you're going to walk in and you're going to be like, where's the pack and play? It's typically not there. So when you get to the resort and check in at the desk, tell them, hey, I put in this request ahead of time. Can I get that and get that up to the room?
Okay.
And Janelle, you know this, and I'll let you talk more about this, but each resort has an activity board of things,
Yes.
activities that go on. So
Yes.
I'm going to grab a quick drink. I'll let you talk about that.
Okay.
I know you've done some of those things.
I have done some of the things. So, um, around the lobby, one, when you check in, you can ask a cast member, but around the lobby or even outside by the pool, you'll see boards that are probably waist high, and they have all the activities for the day or even the week on there, whether it's movie, what the movie is and what time the movie is, or are they doing tie-dyed shirts? It depends on your resort. They all do something a little different. Some of them do the same things. Um, and then there's also, fun games at the pool. Those types of activities will be on the boards. And um, what else? Just if anything special is going on, I know if it's Halloween time or Easter or something like that, they'll put those extra little activities on and what's happening at the resort for that week for whatever is special is going on during that time. So they're there, they are very visible. And if you do not see them, make sure you ask a cast member when you check in or cast member in the area, especially around the pool area too.
Yep. And I think most, if not all of the resorts have special scavenger hunts that you can do
Yes.
with your little as well.
I'm not, yeah, I don't know that it's all, but the majority,
Yep.
the majority do.
Yeah. Now, the next thing I'll comment on about the resorts, if you intend on taking your little back for a nap,
Hmm.
say 2 p.m. is their nap time. Yes, you can hang the do not disturb sign on the outside of your door, and that could potentially help. A lot of guests like to hang that on the door when they check in and leave it on there until they check out.
Hmm.
Disney is going to need to have their mousekeeping come in to clean up your
Hmm.
room every day or every other day, depending upon where you're at. Um, Disney will at times do security checks in rooms, and so they will. If you keep that hanger on your door day in and day out, day in and day out, it's going to get ignored, and they're going to come in. So when you check in, again, if your child's nap time is 2 o'clock,
Yeah.
let the front desk know. Please inform mousekeeping that from 2 to 4 p.m. is my child's nap time. We will be in our room. We will have the do not disturb sign hanging on the doorknob.
Hmm.
Please ask that they not enter during that time so that your child can get the nap that they need. Very beneficial. And on that note, and we may have said this, and if we have, I think it's important to reiterate, try for the most part not to change your little's routine. If they nap twice a day, let them nap twice a day. If they're in bed at 8 p.m. every night at home, try to conform to that same schedule.
Right.
Will that impact your ability to see and do some things at nighttime, for instance? Absolutely. But it sure beats having the next day be miserable for the entire family because you've changed that little's routine.
Right.
Really important. I think we talked about this in the past too. Look, it's human nature to have expectation of what you want to get out of your.
That's true. Yeah.
Absolutely. As an adult, I know I want to get all of this done.
Yeah.
Don't
Yes.
force your 2-year-old to conform to your expectations, your pace in the parks. You need to take a step back and meet up with what you think is a reasonable expectation for that 2-year-old and go at their pace. And when I say go at their pace, I don't necessarily mean how fast they walk, but if they stop and see something and they want to stand there and enjoy it, it could be a duck in the water, it could be whatever. Don't force them away just because you want to go get in line to ride Haunted Mansion or whatever it may be. Go at their pace, let them enjoy what they see, whatever it may be. At the
Yep.
end of the day, they'll be happier, which makes you happier.
Yep. Yeah. As always have said, the magic happens when you just kind of stop and take it all in. It doesn't mean you have to be on a ride or, um, you know, uh, eating corn dog nuggets, like all the things that you think you have to do during that time. Like literally, the magic happens when you're just taking your time, soaking it in, and, just being there, being in the moment.
Absolutely. And at times, because you're just there chilling, things will come out of the woodwork
Yep.
that you would never expect
Yeah.
so yeah,
Yep.
let it happen. Don't force it.
Yep, there you go. Yep. All
Um,
right.
back inside the parks, I think this is very important. Each one of the parks has a baby care center
Mm.
in them. They're usually right there with the first aid stations. You could take advantage of those. They have feeding stations or rooms for feeding. They have changing tables, changing stations, and they typically have baby supplies that you can purchase. If you've forgot to pack diapers or you've run out of wet wipes or whatever it may be, typically they
Right.
will have stuff that you can purchase.
Okay.
Take advantage of those. If you have to go to Disney in June because you've got older children who can't miss school, or mom or dad is a school teacher and that's when you can go,
Right.
those baby care centers are air conditioned, they're comfortable. It will help recharge little, it will help recharge mom or dad.
Right.
Well, and I'm going to steal this from Janelle because she likes to
Mhm.
say this. As adults, we're at Disney at a certain point in the day, we get tired. It happens, right? If we're tired, they're tired. And it's more than likely that they got tired before you did.
Yeah.
And so keep that in mind. I think back to our trips, even when our kids are older and they're teenagers, that next morning when I wake up, man, do I feel like I've been run over by a truck.
Yep.
But you fight through and you hit the park and you do it all over again. The littles aren't so equipped to just fight through and, mentally block it out.
Well, yeah, as I say, I think it's more mental. I think
Right. That's right. Exactly. Yeah. So again, go at their pace. And that's weird because you're frozen on my side. Wow, in a frozen state. That sounds interesting. Okay, so let's carry on then. Another thing to consider. Again, we'll say it's a 2-year-old for little. Do they need a magic band? Do they have to have one? Do you want to have them get one? First off, if they're under the age of 3, they don't need park admission tickets, so they do not need to have a magic band. They do not need to have the plastic card that gets them into the parks.
okay.
It's truly a, do you want them to have one? Um, Understanding that those things pop off the wrist pretty easily and they can be lost. So account for that. But they do not need to have one if they're under the age of 3. If your little is 3 or 4, again, they don't have to have a magic band. You can get the plastic card to get them into the park. You could keep the magic band on you so that it's not
Yeah.
potentially lost if the little has it. But those are things to think about.
Okay.
Take advantage of the celebration buttons. If it's your little's first trip, first visit to Disney, get them that first visit badge. If it's their birthday in and around the trip, get them that birthday badge. Anything like that helps them feel just that much more special, that much more
Yeah.
magical. And the cast members see it and they will comment and say happy birthday. And Janelle knows this. Guests walking through the park will see it and they'll wish your little a happy
Yep.
birthday.
They absolutely
Makes
will.
makes them truly feel the magic. We already talked about this going at the toddler's pace. Don't make them go at yours. Keeping the routine. We talked about the best age to take them. I would say this to get the most out of the trip and try to minimize the amount of time standing in line because that's really the hardest part I think for little is just standing stagnant in line for 15 to 30 minutes.
Mhm.
Somehow, some way, that's when mischief seems to creep in with the little. Um, Consider the Lightning Lane multi-pass, what used to be called Genie Plus. It's an investment, 25 dollars per person per day, but it will shorten your wait time. If they're two, you're not buying Lightning Lane multi-pass for them because they don't need park admission. You're purchasing it for those that are 3 and older, but your little will take advantage of it being with you. Again, shortening the amount of time they have to stand in lines will be helpful. I would absolutely consider purchasing the photo pass. Every ride attraction photo you will get the digital download for. Every character photo you will get the digital download for. Every photo pass photographer that you can find in the parks to take your family's photo, you'll get
Yeah.
digital downloads. Those are memories you'll never get if mom has to take the photo or dad has to take the photo. There's going to be somebody missing in the picture. So take advantage of the photo pass option. What else you got, Janelle?
Um, I mean, I feel like we've covered it. I just think, again, my takeaway from all of this is bring them if you want to, take it easy, don't stress, and just have a wonderful, magical time. And it will happen. Like, look, almost a guarantee, that it will be there. And hopefully you would look back on it and just be so thankful that you did it.
Yep. I will add on to that, and then I had another thought, but I think I mentioned this when our youngest was 2, and we went. My parents came with us, and they took the older boys. If you have that luxury of having grandpa and grandma come along,
Hmm.
take advantage of it. Um, First off, you're going to build core memories for grandpa and grandma that they'll cherish for the rest of their lives. They can, go with the older kids, or they can go with the littles. You go with the older kids, whatever it may be. Um, It'll also afford maybe if mom and dad want to have an evening together, go have a nice quiet dinner, or whatever. Grandpa can have the kids. Lots of flexibility there that can add a lot of magic for everybody. And
Yeah.
the more adults that are there to help with the littles, the less each adult gets worn out. On a,
Yes, that's true. Well, so something just popped into my head when you said, "Oh, something popped into your head." I mean, we didn't even talk about and we can just briefly say that there are services out there that the nannies and the babysitters that, you can get if you don't have adults, with you. I don't know what
yes.
your thought was, but that was my thought.
No, my thought wasn't there, but you're right, Janelle. As she mentioned, there are services in and around Disney World where you can basically rent a nanny
Yep.
to help you out with the littles. I would tell you, if you have a babysitter at home, uh,
Yeah.
teenager in the neighborhood that watches your little, if you can afford to bring them with you, you're going to give them a memory that they may never get. You're adding one more level of comfort that your little will enjoy. Having a teenage,
Right.
babysitter that's there that they know and are comfortable with. Again, somebody that can help you out with folding up the stroller or holding on the
Yeah.
baby while you're folding up the stroller or carrying the 7 merchandise bags because your little, had to have everything, whatever the case may be.
Right.
Which I mentioned stroller. This was my other thought. Part of thinking about which resort to stay at, you might tie into modes of communication or modes of transportation and, and handling that stroller, right? I
Yeah.
made that comment earlier about standing in front of that bus line and can't get my doggone stroller to fold up. When my kids were little, if I would have had the option to stay at Pop Century, for instance, and have the Skyliner for 2 of the 4 parks, I don't have to fold up my stroller
Right.
riding on the Skyliner. if you have the financial ability to stay at one of the resorts that's on the monorail loop. I'm not having to fold up my stroller going to the Magic Kingdom or going to Epcot.
Right.
So there's some convenience factors when it comes to handling the stroller, based on which resort you stay at.
Right.
So that was the thought.
Okay. Well, I think look at us. We had more thoughts than what we had on paper. So,
That's right.
well, I mean, I hope that everybody, if you do bring your toddler and any of this helped us, hopefully you give us a comment and let us know. We'd love to have feedback on any of the stuff that that we shared. And if there's a suggestion that you have and you're listening or watching this, hopefully you would let us know in the comments and maybe you can help somebody else as well with a little tip or trick that you found with taking a little. I don't know.
Yep. And I would add to that that I mean there are probably other things we could talk about
Yeah.
here.
Yes.
We've done other podcasts that can tie in. So, for instance,
Yes.
food delivery services. Instead of having to pack, you know, 6 dozen diapers to bring on your trip, you can, food
Yep.
delivery, order that sort of thing. What to pack. We've done podcasts on what to pack. So we could sit and talk to you for probably 5 hours to cover the A to
Yes.
Z on bringing your littles, but check out some of the other podcasts, and some of those topics will help tie in with this.
I agree. All right, Mike. I think did we cover it all?
I think we've covered what we're going to hit on today. Absolutely.
Okay. Uh, everybody should bring their littles. I think that's what Mike and I think.
If
I
you
don't
can,
know.
if you can make it work financially,
Yeah.
absolutely do it. The memories you'll have for a lifetime will far outweigh spending a few $1,000s. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But whether you can do it when they're 2 or wait until they're 7, um, you'll find magic, that will last a lifetime for sure.
Yeah. I agree. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us, whether you're watching or listening. We appreciate you and your time. And my name is Janelle Love, and it's Disney Parks with Love on all social medias: Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. And Mike is at those same locations as
I am Mike underscore Disney Travel at all those places.
at all those places. So thank you so much, everybody. And we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Yes, and since I was playing the role of the little, it's time for me to take a nap.
You should get a snack first.
Perfect. Love it. All
All
right.
right.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Okay. Bye bye.